Should millennials be purchasing homes regardless of what the mortgage rate is? Should they purchase at 10%, 15%? Should they really even care? If you have a millennial in your family that is getting ready to purchase a home, this is the video for you. We're going to look at a study that was recently done to see what they found, and then I want to know your thoughts regarding whether or not this is something you would recommend, or as a millennial yourself, if this is something you would do. So let's get into it. There was a recent study that was done that found that more than three-quarters of millennials that are currently looking to purchase homes would consider purchasing a home for an interest rate that is higher than the national average, which is about 7%. And so, what this study found is that about 65% are saying they would pay 10% for a mortgage rate. There are another 23% that are even admitting that they would pay 15% or more for a mortgage rate to purchase a home, according to the study. Now, this study was done by Clever Real Estate. I want to know, what are your thoughts? You can comment on this video to let me know, would you recommend that a millennial purchase at any interest rate at all, or should they really be watching the interest rates closely like everyone else? What are your thoughts? What would you recommend to the millennial in your family, or as a millennial yourself? Are you watching the interest rates on these mortgages to see when you should jump into the market? What is your concern? Now, what the study also said was that a combination of high interest rates, inflation, and stagnant wages are financially squeezing millennials, but it is not diminishing their desire to want to purchase a home. And I wouldn't recommend, if they qualify for a home, if they have spoken with the lender and the numbers are in their favor, I would not recommend any of those things keeping them from purchasing a home either. The important thing is getting pre-qualified with a lender before you start the process, to know what you actually can afford. That's always going to be important, whether you're a millennial or not. Now, what the Clever Real Estate study found was, of millennial home buyers, today's real estate market is tough on them, and we all know that. Even more challenging if you're young is just being able to know when to get into the market. So about 93% of millennials said that the market has impacted their home buying plans, which is understandable because it's impacting people who are not millennials. And 76% of millennials are concerned it will worsen before they buy a home, which is probably the impetus for them just saying, okay, I don't care what the interest rate is on this mortgage, I am going to go ahead and purchase a home. Now, we all know, again, that interest rates are an obstacle for everyone, regardless of how old you are. Rising interest rates was a strategic move to help with inflation, and it has been effective, but the housing market has slowed, and millennials are starting to buy their first homes, and they're beginning to feel the effects of that. And, it's tough for first time home buyers. There's a lot of incentives out there. So, again, I would not, if your numbers are right after we get you pre qualified with a lender, I would not let any of the negatives, so to speak, stop you if we can, work around those. But it's hard. And so about 96% of millennials said high interest rates affected their home buying plans. And as a result, they're looking at smaller, less expensive homes, or just holding off altogether on buying a home. Half of millennials said high interest rates are a barrier to home ownership altogether, which, again, if it isn't the interest rates, a lot of people are saying homeowners insurance, in my area at least. So that's understandable. Two-thirds of millennials regret not purchasing a home when interest rates were lower. And a lot of people are, we had that thing where, it was a perfect storm. Either it was too much competition before interest rates rose, and now the interest rates are too high. I think the additive that, if you're waiting for a perfect time, there really isn't one, kind of applies to home purchases. You can't always wait for the perfect situation because it's probably never going to happen. And that's what a lot of the millennials are running into, that regret that I didn't get into it when interest rates were lower because they possibly were waiting for that perfect situation. And again, it's not just unique to their generation to have that regret. That's going to be for anybody that's starting to look into purchasing a home. They want to become home buyers at any price, is what this study found. And so, despite all of those obstacles, they're intent on buying. Their enthusiasm has very few limits. More than three-quarters of millennial home buyers would consider interest rates that are more than the national average, as I mentioned in the beginning. Some young buyers would take additional bank breaking measures to get the keys to that house. They want their dream home. About 79% of millennials would pay above asking price to get that dream home, the study found. 11% of them said they would offer 100,000 or more above asking price. Now, again, I want to know your thoughts. As a millennial yourself, would you ever do that? Or as a family member of a millennial who may have already gone through your own previous purchase of a home, would you recommend them offering that much above asking price? Would you recommend them being willing to go above the national average on the interest rates just to get the keys to the home? The study found that they're in a situation where they have high hopes but low bank balances. And I don't think that surprises anybody. Millennials are having this desire for home ownership, but their finances have taken a beating just like everybody else's. And a quarter of millennials have less than $10,000 in savings. A lot of older people don't have $10,000 in savings, so it's not hard to believe millennials won't have it. 12% have less than $1,000 saved. And again, that is not hard to believe. I think I saw on the news the other day, they had a financial analyst on that was just saying if you can save $5 a day. I mean, a lot of people aren't even able to do that. So it's not shocking that they don't have $1,000. And it says additionally, 5%, and I think a lot more of us fall into this 5% than we would be willing to admit, do not have any savings at all. And so they're also carrying significant debt. And one of those things is probably going to be student loan debt. But about 57% of millennials have $10,000 in debt, more than double the 25% who have $10,000 in savings. So if you have more debt than you have savings, home ownership looks real bleak for you. And so their shaky financial situation has shaped their approach to home buying. And so almost half of millennials plan to put down less than the traditional 20% on a home, and 57% plan to purchase a home that costs less than the median US price of $431,000. And in certain areas, going less than that price of $431,000, you're still going to get a really nice home. So that's not a bad thing. But your financial situation, I don't want to ever see anyone get into a situation where they're house poor, where you purchased a home, but you don't have any money because you're probably should not have purchased a home in the first place because your financial situation was so bleak in the beginning anyway. And so what millennials are finding as they've had to adjust to market conditions is that they're not really getting a lot of positive outcomes. About 35% of millennials fear that making major home repairs have, they have, well, they don't really fear, rather, making major home repairs, so they've turned to fixer uppers. And it's not Chip and Joanna TV show type deal. I think a lot of us watch that show and get romanticized and think, oh, I can do that. Not all of us can do that. So I want to know your thoughts again. Would you recommend a millennial who may be tight on savings already and be in a shaky financial situation purchase a fixer upper just to get a home? The study also said that two-thirds of millennial buyers would purchase a fixer upper, but 18% of millennial homeowners who bought one regret it. So again, you just have to think about it. I'm purchasing this fixer upper because I couldn't really get a new home or one that didn't require a whole lot of repairs because I was already in a shaky financial situation and I didn't have a lot of savings. So I bought a fixer upper where I needed money to fix the home. Now, that probably doesn't make a lot of sense, but I wanted a home so bad that I did it anyway. Would you ever recommend a millennial do that just to get a home? Now, millennials' idea of a fixer-upper goes well beyond a home that needs a new coat of paint, is what the study found. So, two-thirds of millennial would buy a fixer-upper with asbestos. 62% would buy a home that had mold, which I would say run, but they're buying them. And 58% would buy a fixer-upper with a bad foundation. Again, you have no savings. You're in a shaky financial situation, but you're buying a home that needs foundation repairs, that needs mold remediation, and that has asbestos. Probably some of the most expensive things to get rid of. You've purchased this home and you're already in a bad way. Would you ever recommend this? Now, millennials are also open to buying homes sight unseen. About 85% of them would consider buying a home without ever touring it, which I never recommend. And 13% of millennials are buying homes sight unseen and regretting that decision, which is why, again, I say I do not recommend buying a home that you have not walked through. Pictures online are awesome for, ooh, I want to go see that home. But this is not a, ooh, I want to buy that home sight unseen. I'm just going to look at pictures I saw online. I'm never actually going to ever set foot in this home until I buy it. Would you ever recommend that to anybody you know, whether they're a millennial or not? Necessary compromises in home quality, financing, and or the buying process have left many millennials with remorse. Is that shocking that the study found that? I don't think it is. And a stunning 90% have regrets about their first home purchase, which we never want. We don't want first time home buyers to regret the home that they just purchased, because this is not a shirt that you can take back to Walmart because it doesn't fit, or a pair of shoes that you put on and you say, hey, it doesn't really match my outfit. I'll just go return it. This is a home. And so they're regretting that purchase, and we don't want that to happen. Up to 82% of them regretted it as of the study, or as of what the study found for 2023. And the most common regret is bad location, followed by bad neighbors and a high interest rate. So you can't really fix the fact that you had bad neighbors. That might not be something that would have presented itself through the home tour and inspections and any of the home buying process. They may have behaved while you were buying the home and you just didn't know until you got it. So I think that one may not have been avoidable. Bad location, there's some research you can do. Is it, I think that's a question I have. If it's bad location is the regret, was it just that it's too far from your job, which is something you would have known because you know where your job is in comparison to where your house is that you're buying? Or did you drive around the neighborhood to see what it is about this area that made it a bad location for you before you bought the home? So that's one of those reasons why sight unseen, I would never recommend that. High interest rate, again, that's why I asked in the beginning, would you ever recommend a millennial or anybody purchasing at just any old interest rate just to get a house? Those things are important because, again, this is just not something that we're going to be able to walk away from or return to the store, or walk up to the customer service desk and say, hey, I don't have my receipt, but I don't want this anymore. What can you do for me? This is a totally different ball game. It's a house. But what is the way that we can make sure that millennials and really anybody else does not fall into this situation. And this is where I take joy in being able to show my worth, because a agent can help you avoid a lot of this. In a challenging market, what this study found, and I'm glad that they are reiterating this because agents should be saying this to anybody that is willing to listen. Even the smallest advantage can make the difference between a satisfying home purchase and one that is just an absolute disaster. So, one of the easiest ways that a millennial can gain a meaningful edge is to choose an experienced agent, someone who is going to navigate the local market with you, who knows it, who can do the legwork, who can let you sit back and not do any of those things that you're trying to avoid doing that is getting you caught up in these bad situations. Let the agent help you. Let the agent guide you. Let the agent say, wait a minute, we don't want to do this. Let's do this, so that we don't end up in a situation where you're just not happy. We want you to be happy. At the end of the day, the main thing that we would ever want is for you to be happy with this home purchase. So let the agent help you make sure that you end up happy. Savvy agents can help negotiate the purchase agreement in which the seller agrees to take some of the financial burden off of the buyer. That's going to help you in the long run. The local realtor may be able to get assistance with closing costs from the sellers as well. So that's something that you can look into if you have an agent. And then just having someone who has local knowledge can make a huge difference. The longer the home has been on the market, the more open a seller might be to negotiating. So you want to make sure that you have somebody that is willing to do that and who has negotiating skills, and a knowledgeable agent, a wealth of knowledge and assistance and just time savings for you as a millennial. It may just be things that you don't know. It may not just even be that you don't want to do it. It's just that you don't know to do it. So this is going to help you, having an agent. And for millennial buyers wrestling with regrets, what the study recommended is just taking the long view and remembering where you live now won't necessarily be where you live forever. And that's the thing. Just like someone sold that home to you, eventually you'll be able to sell the home. Now, is it going to be bought it today? I don't like it. I can sell it tomorrow. No, that's more than likely not going to work. But again, remember, you won't be there forever. So if you're not necessarily happy with that decision, you may have to make the best of it for a little while. But eventually you'll be able to sell that home and then get to where you want to be. But next time, make sure that you let an agent guide you to the right decision. Think first. Think first about what you're doing and how big that purchase is. And you'll know, hey, I need somebody to guide me. And that's exactly what an agent is for. And then you also want to think of your home as the springboard for your future dream home. So if you're in that situation where you're a millennial and you're regretting that home purchase that you made for whatever reason, it's a stepping stone. Hey, this is not where I want to be, but it's better than where I was. So you may have been renting, and that's, of course, investing in someone else. So this is your first home, and you're starting to now invest in yourself. It is a stepping stone to where eventually you'll be able to purchase the home that is more in line with what you want. And now you know what not to do to help you make better decisions. So, again, I ask, this study said that there are 3/4 of millennials that are just willing to pay any old interest rate. And we know, as we've gone through what this study found, a lot of them are ending up regretting that decision. So, would you ever recommend a millennial doing this? Would you counsel them for or against it? Would you say, yes, go ahead and do that just so we can get these keys? Or would you say, no, we may want to think about that? I want to see your thoughts. So comment on that and let me know. If you are a millennial who is looking to purchase a home and you've been thinking about what you need to do, I will be more than happy to have a conversation with you so we can help you avoid the pitfalls. And we want your first home purchase to be one that you love. And yes, while it is a stepping stone for most, even if you don't regret the first purchase, may not be the home that you end up in 30 years from now. Even if it's not one that you've regretted, we definitely don't want you to make any oops moments that you don't have to. So I would love to have a conversation with you if you're a first time buyer, a millennial, regardless of who you are. If you have real estate questions so that we can avoid you getting into a situation where you're not happy, please reach out to me. I'm more than happy to have a conversation so that we can make sure that the experience is as good as possible for you. That is just something that I would love, love, love everybody to, be able to enjoy their home. Now, there are some articles that I've been reading that have really, really, really kind of brought home why I wanted to do a video on this. And it didn't really direct it necessarily towards millennials, but it was poignant. And it had to do with the reasons why having a realtor is important. And so my next video is going to go over some of those reasons. I believe there was like 179 reasons for sellers. There was 105 reasons why using a realtor is important for buyers. I will say, just to kind of summarize on this video, knowing that I'm going to be getting into that in future videos, is just someone to navigate a area that you may not be totally knowledgeable in. I may be able to Google any manner of medical information and kind of guess what might be wrong with me. But if I really want to know what is truly wrong with me, if I'm not feeling well, the best way for me to figure that out is going to be to go to the doctor, get some real verifiable information from someone who is knowledgeable and who should know. And that's, to me, we're not exactly the same thing. I get it. A realtor is not a doctor, but it's just an analogy to say this. A realtor, it should be knowledgeable about your local market. They should know comps in your area. They should know, what's available, what's sold, to give you an idea. If you're a seller, for example, where your home should be priced. If you're a buyer, they should be able to give you ideas of, what's available in the area and the price range that you're looking for. If you tell them things that you're looking for in a home, they should be able to come up with a few different areas that may work for you. They should know things about navigating the market that you just simply do not know as a layperson, that you're not going to be able to find out by, Googling an address or hopping on Zillow or Realtor.com, because, you don't know what you don't know. And unfortunately, a lot of people are finding out what they don't know after they bought the home. And again, this is not, Walmart or Target type stuff. This is not going to be where we have a return policy. We want you to know what you know as much as you can so that you can be as happy as you can be with your decision. So, yes, I am a realtor, and I'm always going to advocate for you having someone by your side to guide you through the process as much as possible. But what you have to realize is the realtor works for you and does not get paid until the end. It's not like as soon as we sit down and have a conversation, you're passing over some kind of paycheck. So just ask questions. Just ask any question that you have. Be willing to work with someone that can guide you and help you. And if at the end of the day you decide you don't want to work with that person, then you're able to walk away from that. If you do decide that you want to work with that person, what you end up paying that person is negotiable. All of this is negotiable. Don't let anybody tell you that it's not. If you're a buyer and you end up having to pay that person, even your side is negotiable. So don't fear having to, sign with someone, signing a buyer's agreement or a seller's listing agreement. Don't fear that. It's just I went to a class and I heard somebody refer to a buyer signing a buyer's agreement with an agent as getting engaged. And once we're engaged, we're basically in a relationship where I am helping you, guiding you, and you have agreed to allow me to do that and only me to do that. And then we have also agreed upon a negotiated payment. So you have say so in the entire process. The agent can't force you to do anything that you don't want to do. They can't force you to see houses you don't want to see. They can't force you to buy a house you don't want to buy. This person works for you. And so ask questions. Don't go through a process on your own that you don't have to, if you don't have to. And I understand a lot of people would rather do it on their own, but regrets. If you can save yourself regret, why not take an opportunity to do that? I think that's priceless. Time and regret. You can't go back and once we've done it and get any of that back. So if we can save ourselves that on the front end, why not? But again, I'm going to do a separate video on some of the reasons why using a realtor, whether you're on the buyer or the seller side, would be an awesome thing to do. I also, if you follow me on social media, did a post the other day, and I want to get some comments about this as well. What are your best platforms for podcasting if you're doing a podcast where you're co-host and you are not necessarily in the same area? I'm going to be co-hosting a podcast with someone who lives in Tennessee and I live in Florida. And so I need to know the best platform that we would need to use to both be able to be on video. And I think I've seen that Zoom is okay, but the quality may not be the best. StreamYard I heard about, and I looked up a couple of others, but just any ideas on what would be the best platform to use to get a good quality podcast where both me and my co-host, me and her, can be on video. The podcast is going to have some real estate things. We're going to talk about credit tips, home ownership tips. She's just got in a home, so it's something that's really near and dear to her heart right now. We want to talk relationships, just things that are important to people, whether you're in Tennessee or Florida or just really anywhere. Both of us are sports. She's a Cowboys fan. I'm a Colts fan. So that may kind of wrap up into that podcast to a small degree from time to time. But we just want to talk about topics that would resonate with people regardless of where you are. And I want to make sure that we get a platform to do that on that's going to be really good quality for sound and video. So if anybody has any recommendations that we can use, again, with her being in Tennessee and me being in Florida, I would really, really appreciate that. Any recommendations on that? We are thinking of a name, and I've been really struggling with that part. I tend to not be the most creative person as when it comes to stuff like that. I'm more analytical. But I was thinking if we did like a weekly podcast, it might be easier for both of us since we both work, so we could do a weekly thing. And I was thinking that a good name for it would be Weekly Dish with Vic and Chris, since her name is Victoria and mine is Christina. So I thought that was catchy. I don't know if any of you have any kind of catchy podcast names that you think would be good. But again, her name is Victoria and mine is Christina, and it's possible that we'll be doing the podcast on a weekly basis. If it's going to be more frequent than that, I don't really see it being daily because, again, me and her both work and we have family. But it may be a couple of times a week, if not just weekly. So if you don't think Daily Dish with Vic and Chris is catchy enough, give me some thoughts. But again, I want to know your thoughts on whether or not you would recommend Millennials to purchase at any interest rate, or thoughts really on any of the other things that were found in the study. Give me some thoughts on podcast platforms for doing a podcast with people in two different states who want to be on video and, of course, have video and audio. And then just if you have any real estate questions, or if you're looking to buy, sell, or invest, I am always available for those conversations. You're able to reach out to me via social media. I'm on Facebook, TikTok, Instagram. I'm on LinkedIn. So you can definitely reach out to me that way. I do have a website, christina.johnson.com. So certainly able to reach out to me. If you would prefer to text 850-992-7459. I'm certainly available. I do work for Caldwell Banker Realty here in Florida, but I am able to assist with people who live anywhere. So do not hesitate to reach out to me on any of the platforms. I'm also on YouTube. I think I mentioned that, so you can reach out to me there as well. But I want to thank everybody for watching. I'm looking forward to seeing your comments about those mortgage rates, and should millennials just be purchasing regardless of what they are. I do like the conversations regardless of on which side of that you fall. So let's have that conversation. And everybody have a great, great, great Wednesday.